Okay, good night, good night, good night to those who are now joining. Share the live, share the live, share the live, share the live. Dr. Matthews is in the house. Share the live. I'll take another minute before I start. Share the live. I want to welcome. I want to welcome all those who are. Hold on. Okay. I want to welcome all those who are joining us. Joining this, the GMS Live, Voice of Democracy, the GMS Live, Radio Guyana. Good night to you and black love to you all. To those who are looking, black love to you all. A pleasant good evening, a pleasant good night, good morning, good afternoon to whichever part of the world you're joining us. Good night, good night, good night, good night. Now we have a few things to talk about tonight. The topics are ranging to three of the companies that are done here. And I'm talking about those that are participating in those that are investing in the oil sector. And we got a few more companies, but the the thing about the companies is that it's amazing to see what we have here, the kind of caliber of persons and people, and you know, what do we have to work with or what is offered to us by those that are de facto. So for no further ado, let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Matthews, for those who are now joining for the first time. Dr. Gavin Matthews. I am the person who runs both of the shows, the GMS Live, Voice of Democracy, and the GMS Live Radio Guyana. Good night from Guyana to the Caribbean and around the world. I know I've started a bit late tonight, but to those who know me, I try to get things working. Now, last night we had some hiccups where some things didn't went as well as it should, especially for the technology that I'm using. So I had to resort to other things just to get the show up, active, and running. Now, we had three sets of companies that I was talking about last night. So before I continue to talk about them, let me make this specifically clear to those who are joining this live stream. Let me make it specifically clear. One of the one of the things that are specifically clear, and I want everyone who's looking must understand that no matter how best we follow or we want to follow local content, it is not designed in such a way that we benefit. Companies who are here would not invest in local content that they would lose. Any company that invests in local content that they will lose, that the country in which they desire to work in or to invest in shall win and their citizens, it's a dead company. That's not economics. No company who's in Guyana who is investing in the oil sector to lose is not economics. So don't let nobody fool anybody. It doesn't make sense. It's a waste of time. Who would come here and invest hundreds of millions of US dollars to lose it in a local content strategy? It makes no sense. So don't let anybody sit down and paint a picture perfect painting and talk about local content as investing in it so Guyanese can benefit and they don't benefit. Imagine, imagine these three companies, executives that are representing them. It is SBM Offshore, Technic FMC, and Blue Water Shipping. Now, what is the amazing thing how disrespectful, especially Blue Water Shipping. You could imagine Blue Water Shipping is invested in shipping parts that they would use to service the oil industry. Let us say, for instance, if the platform which is extracting the oil needs to have a crankshaft and it's that huge to bring it, their shipping company will bring it and ship it to either whichever oil rig that is being used to make sure that is being provided to them. And Guyana have one, two, three, four, five, at least five shipping companies that I know of. And Blue Water Shipping suddenly come out of the blues talking about they're operating within 10 countries. I mean, anything you can buy in any part of the world and ship it to Guyana. It's not hard. Shipping companies are designed in Guyana to make sure that whatever item you want to ship to Guyana can meet to these shores. And then the insultive thing, they're talking about, hold on, they're talking about, they are talking about investing in sports. What an insult. Like if sports can develop, I'm talking about blue water shipping. Like if sports can develop a community, like if sports can develop a country economically, you understand what I mean? The other one talked about, oh, the executive would be changed. The local executive would be a Guyanese. Fine, I like that. But under which duress he may operate under. When I mean duress, I talking about stress. These things are nice and gloomy. Their talks is good. I want to see it on paper. I don't want to hear somebody talking about nothing. The other one who I talking about hold on, Technic FMC, they were right. They had nothing to do with talking about local content. Their interest wasn't in that at that particular time because they weren't here to invest or they weren't here to strategize about local content. But the moderator of that particular event talked about involving them in it. The government, the de facto administration wants to involve them in it. The Georgetown Chambers of Commerce president couldn't even dream about talking about what he wants to talk because you can listen to his conversation, he doesn't have a clue. They were basically giving these foreign investors an opportunity to make decisions of their own. That's what's happening. I can't understand. Hold on, wait. Let me read what's happening. I sound better than Ali. Of course, I sound better than Ali. I know how to pronounce words. I know to form a sentence. I know how to give it over so I can able people can able to understand me. I didn't went to University of Guyana, but the stupidness that these people sit down to give to us, talking about local content. Guyana is under duress. Guyana is a failed state. What local content are you talking about? There's no involvement. Local content involves civil society. That's how it has been done across the globe, from country to country who has local content. Local content doesn't only surrounds the oil industry, it surrounds macroeconomic companies and countries who wants to invest in other countries. Local content is created. So local content does not surround an oil industry. It never does. So I don't know what by our figment of our imagination do we come up with a lot of stupidness and airing it on television and having the Caribbean community, those who know what we're talking about, laughing at us because you know why? According to Nandalal, he's looking for a viable opposition, and this is what we got to deal with. Well, here the people were looking for a viable government, and they're laughing. They're saying, "Look what we got to deal with: a bunch of puppets on a string." And then the you know the amount of ignorance that is portrayed. You could imagine you call yourself professionals and you have a parliamentarian telling another parliamentarian she has to get a dildo. And you have the speaker, or well, the illegal one, Manzoor Nadir, who doesn't even make a buzz off of that. Then he's banning people for 3 or 4 sessions and he's not saying nothing to a little child who's talking about a dildo. It's bare little children we got. And then we got the other section of the media who's taking it now and making a laugh off of it. So what are they doing? Are they entertaining us? Nobody sits down to say exactly what is really going on in this country. Nobody sits down to talk about accountability. The very first place to start is the Office of Financial Affairs because we do not have a Ministry of Finance. I don't know why people are talking about a Ministry of Finance. I can understand this idiocracy, this level of stupidity that we have to deal with as a country. It's amazing to see what we have to swallow and accept. Because why? We don't know how to articulate. We don't know how to approach. We don't know how to force these politicians not only to behave correctly, but do the right thing. Office of Financial Affairs. Then we got a minister within the office of the president, senior minister within the office of the president, who's in charge or responsibility of finance. And they're reading a budget, which is signed by him and the de facto vice president. Can you imagine that? Then you issue $2,000 bill, which is supposed to have the minister of finance signature, and it has the vice president's signature. One of the printing them $2,000 bill in the house over the river in Iflot, where the $5,000 bills used to print a couple of years ago. I wonder if that is the place to printing them $2,000 bills. Because the ink look like it could gather, you can get it anywhere, just like the ink on the $5,000. The paper look like you can get it anywhere too, just like the paper of the $2,000 bill. That's what we're turning to. This is what Guyana is all about. It's a gimmick and a laugh. Are we serious? Is this the road that we're going down? We got companies, when you do some research on them, you cannot get the information that you want on the internet because it's not there. I've been looking. They got the website. I don't want their website. I want to be able to Google their name and find it. SBM offshore. I want to Google it and find it. I don't want to be led to their website. The same thing of Technic FMC and Blue Waters. Out of the blues, they suddenly arrive. Oh, yes, they can say, well, we've been here a long time. We've been here over 2, 3 years. And but when you look at these people, they're operating from their bottom houses. Oh, but you know why they can do that? Because the business community here in Guyana cannot say anything because there's no viability and substance of their business. There's nothing of their business that can validate their existence. So the people are saying, well, you can't point fingers at me. I come in through the American Chambers of Commerce. So what Guyana is left with? Still nothing. We still can't inherit nothing because there's no viable local business for us to work through that we can inherit. Now we got to depend upon the international community and those businesses that are external of Guyana to give us the breadcrumbs that are falling off their table when they're catering off with millions of dollars. Guyana is not getting anything. Don't let nobody fool you. We can't have local businesses to invest because they can't give accountability of their wealth. So how are we going to get something? Oh, sorry. The only thing we can get something in is in the hospitality industry, the transportation industry, the security industry, and the well, maintenance is hospitality because if you're talking about maids and all these things, that's in the hospitality industry. But that's the only thing we're gonna get, and we're not getting anything from that. It's crumbs that we're getting because you turn up to work and you're still getting $60,000 and $80,000 per month, and you got a big badge saying, well, you're working for one of those companies that are aligned to ExxonMobil, and that's the only thing. You feel nice, you're going to work. That's what is happening. You want me to show you a simple example? Look at Cyril's transportation services. That's a simple example. They were one of the first transportation services that started with Exxon. Then they started paying drivers handsomely. And after a period of time, they started reducing their pay. They started losing the equitable services of drivers. And the company realized that and take away some part of the contract from them. It is the same thing. We ain't getting nowhere. When we do decide to get somewhere, our own is robbing us. Not only that, and I'm talking, and that person is part of the private sector. Now we're talking about the government, the de facto administration, the installed administration, who specifically do not care of what we get. $14,000. This is what I call a subscription allowance. $25,000 per each child. This is what I call $100 for how much child one time a year, and $5,000 school uniform allowance. Hold on, 14 and 5 is 19, and 25. Check it up and see how much you get. That's $44,000. We getting that one time within this fiscal year. There's enough money that is being spent. There's enough money that is being made that we can afford to give a Guyanese family, a household of 1 million US dollars each. No, there's plenty money. There's 200 million Guyana dollars for each Guyanese family. You know how much money you're talking about there? We ain't getting slaves to work after that. But that's the thing. How can Guyanese inherit what you're now gobbling up? They can't inherit. How are they going to begin to inherit? I talked about that. The last time I expressed myself on it, and I helped people to understand, I said, look, the Sovereign Wealth Fund Committee has been contracted by the Guyanese government, the APNU AFC, for a period of time to manage the sovereign wealth of Guyana. And that payment, that contractual agreement would have been dependent upon how much money that they would have made over a period of time. The account would have garnered, and they would have worked on a percentage of what was garnered. I want you to understand me. And in that simple example, you understand? In that simple example, there are principles according to the contract. Those principles says when you come to me and you bring a piece of paper that comes from your parliament, it says your government, from your parliament, both opposition and executive, you must have a two-thirds majority decision before you come to me. And when you come to me, you cannot withdraw this money. You could only borrow from it. So you have to pay back this money with interest because this money is not your money. It belongs to Guyanese. The further interest and economic benefits of Guyanese. So if they turn up to the Sovereign Wealth Fund Committee with a piece of paper and said, look, I pass a legislation in Parliament that says I got the right to this money. You got to give me it now. The committee will turn around and say, well, I got this piece of paper that says when you turn up like that, you're in breach of the contract. So when you breach that contract, well, then you got to pay me. And my payment depends upon the growth of monies coming into the account. It doesn't have a stipulated growth. It has a percentage from the growth. So you got to mind how you're breaching those contracts. Y'all get my point. So when you're finished there, they can't get the money like that. So they're going to borrow the money based upon what is in the account of the Natural Resources Fund that is managed by the Sovereign Wealth Fund Committee. You know, it's amazing to see how we do understand what is before us. And because politicians, and I must pronounce the word properly, politicians are so bent on not giving us the raw data, what is supposed to be in the public domain so they can read contracts, deals, and investments that belongs to the public because they are politicians acting on behalf of the will of the people. The Constitution said so. They're not acting on behalf of the will of themselves, it's of the people. But because we don't demand accountability, we are left with nothing at the end of the day because they say we deserve nothing. So we're having serious problems. People are now crying out nationwide because they're hearing all this money passing and sharing away and we getting the trickle down benefits. People are fighting over $44,000. 44,000 Guyana dollars, which is roughly 220 US dollars. When them boys going away with hundreds of millions of US dollars, you see the budget? It is 500 plus billion Guyana dollars. The biggest jet ever take off. They ain't got even wheels. Right now it's in the air. If it try for landing and crash land, cause it's too heavy. And who has to foot that bill? Guyanese. Because when we borrow from these international countries, these countries that they call first world countries, they want their money back. This is not like the IDB where you can go and bargain to reduce the interest and talk about debt write-off. Not a lot of us don't even know what's debt write-off. Debt write-off is not writing off the monies that you borrow. Debt write-off is writing off the percentage of the money that you borrow. That's what you call debt write-off. We still have monies to pay. We could still afford to pay Bank of Jamaica the $9 million that we owe them for borrowing for just to upkeep Gaisuku. Then we got the Gaisuku people sit down to tell us the reason why the government should invest in Gaisuku, that's a failed state. I just cannot understand why we ourselves can't wake up and see the blunt of racism. We can't see the blunt of racism. It is right there. You're investing in a corporation that is predominantly PVP affiliates. That means you're enriching them. You don't care about the country that you have at large, and you're talking about $44,000. It still doesn't add up. It still cannot add up. You want people to benefit economically, raise the tax threshold ceiling, carry it to $250,000. People can enjoy some sense of good life. You take it away from them after the election. Then you're trying to tell people you have the right and the will because you're installed. My God, my God, my God. Are you that serious? I know they're working very hard, very, very, very hard to make sure they cut the program. And know they're working very hard to cut the Gavin Matthews show. Over time, But the truth has to be spoken. We got too many politicians in bed with the same people. Too many. Either on the opposing side or either on the ruling side. We got too many politicians and nobody's holding these boys accountable. Nobody, none of them. We're not asking them the right questions. Are we serious? Are we that serious? Think about it. It's not what is in the news, it's what makes the news. It's not how you're entertained, it's what you're entertained by. When you stand up to say black love, oh, wow. Oh, the t shirts are still available. The t shirts, the caps. As a matter of fact, I have on one right now. All these things are available because we want to promote black love. At least I do. It is helping us to recognize who we are and where we are as a country going forward. Everybody's so taken up with their own lives. When it comes to Guyanese, that is the last thing. That is the last thing. When it comes to Guyanese, it is the last thing that will fuel them. Then we gotta pity ourselves. We call ourselves, why do you call yourselves poor people? We are creating an atmosphere of minorities for them to call us poor. You can imagine three companies are down here and they're talking about their own selves. Not even a proper accountability. And the moderators allowing them to kick off. No serious questions. The investigation is not being done well. And we will never get it well because we're not given the opportunity to investigate. Then they got this new motto, one Guyana. There's no one Guyana, friend. We are living on a continent. Before it became South America was Guyana. And countries that are part of that Guyana. We have a motto, one people with one people, one nation with a destiny. One destiny. We got a de facto administration coming in and change the color of the flag. You can imagine those nonsense trying to trying to push things on us that were never designed to be that way. That was never a Guyana. We are too divided because of the politics. And if we don't catch ourselves, we will be a divided country with a social unrest that is going to destroy the fabric of a Guyana that we once knew because of one thing, greed. Because of greed. And when you talk hard about these greedy people, the vex can before they court you insult their intelligence or you cause them emotional distress. So what happening to the Guyanese that are in an emotional distress? What is happening to them? Seriously, let's look at it. Let's talk about it. This is not a folly to be stupid onto. We need to sit down and get to the reality of things. How can we inherit that which is supposed to be for us economically? We don't even have a constitution. And these little children talk around the place with drug dealers taking a flash at the expo. To put it up on social media, these drug dealers at the expo, to put it up, these people with what you call questionable characters that are being investigated by the same State Department because they have the evidence on them. Why you think air fraud got the same problem with the Canadian authorities? That dunce. Certain people could only flap the wings in Guyana, but they can't go outside and do it. And the media that we got here ain't even investigating that. They're not even investigating that. Nobody's pushing the steam so we can have proper accountability. We are being ridden for far too long. That's what we are. We are being ridden for far too long. People putting a bridle in our mouths, riding us until the shoes fall off. And the shoes fell off, and yet still we're not getting the effects because we were ignoring it. Guyanese now is that time. Now it's been a time from since they were sworn in on the 2nd of August 2020. It was that time and it is still the time. It's time for to wake up and realize where we at. We already fall overboard. We already overboard. We can't get a recuperation of things. Things are so dangerous. And it is unhealthy. You could imagine the moderator, this is his words. Let me show you the kind of hypnotism we're in. The moderator is presenting to His Excellency the President, Dr. Irfrad Ali, and addressing the other one to His Excellency the Vice President, Doctor. You can imagine after the president has been the prime minister. Tell me what kind of constitution we have. And the fourth grade photo taker router, photo op, stupidness ain't even there in the presentation and he's there. And you imagine he is there. He's right in the conference. He's right there sitting down. It's not even mentioned. And he stand up skinning his teeth. Boy, I tell you, I never see slavery like this. This is high class slavery. This is far beyond slavery. Y'all ever see that movie Get Out? This is the kind of slavery I see when I see that man. Mr. Who? Phillips. I don't even think he should call himself an ex-chief of staff for the Ghana Defense Force because I thought all them army brigadiers or whatever you retire as got sense because you got the got sense to me to that position. This is high class stupidness. I have never seen this level of brainwashing before. You can imagine, Guyanese, how hard is it to realize the position in which we are, in which we're sitting, that position. How hard is it to realize that we're there and nobody's seeming to be want to wake up. Everybody wants to sleep. While these people are putting us in shackles, this is modern day slavery. Hold on, you want money so bad that you decide to sign yourself into slavery? Is the position as prime minister that you want so bad? Are you that serious? Oh my gosh. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. I'm trying to, how should I put it over? I'm trying to colonize my brains to see if I can understand the level of stupidity that we are now going through as Guyanese. I'm trying to understand it. How do we understand? How do we function in this level of unconstitutional stupidity? I'm really trying to fathom it. And the thing is that we have educated people, or I wonder they're just regurgitators of their qualifications, because I'm trying to understand. Because being educated means that you're being able to think for yourself based upon what information that you have gained through the years of education and be able to strategize to make things different. I thought that is what education is about. But we have so many learned people, people who are walking around this place as lawyers and doctors, politicians. My God, my God. Seriously. It's like you're in a hospital bed and you're having cardiac problems and they have to shock you so your heartbeat can catch again. Here, do you understand this level of thievery that is going on? These people are making it such a greater deal that they're trying to change the laws to give them permission to thief Guyana's economic benefits, to take it away. In the Guyana Police Force, you call it taking and depriving of a person's property without their consent. Well, this time you're giving them their consent, but their consent is being given on to them, and they go to change the law. So you have no consent anymore. Can you imagine when you look around inside of the conference, wherever it is, it's your drug dealers, people who has evidence in the narcotics field stating that their activity that is so illegal and dangerous that is damaging the society of a whole. And they got more preference more than the honest man. Can't you imagine that? Here, this civil, I'm telling you that. But now I realize it's time for me to go because I've exceeded the time. I really wanted to. My hours are from 7 to 8, and I'm trying to go back to the 6:30. but I have so many engagements that I had to do that I have to knock out that half an hour and start from 7 to 8. So I must thank all those who have joined me and be there with me tomorrow night again, where we'll have a call-in session because I wanna interact with you, members of the general public, so we can have that interaction. We can have that say to say what we want in our country and how we want our country to run. So tomorrow night it's a better night where you call in and I have your say. You must have your say, your input on how you run your country. My show does not only give invitation to intellectuals, but it also helps you to understand as a normal man you can call in and you can have your say. I want to say thank you very much. Black love to you all, Guyanese. Black love still exists. The brand is still there. You can call a number that is provided. It is $30 per shirt. Per t-shirt, you can call in. We can still have that price range for you for the caps, the pens, the mugs, and also the lingerie. And there are people overseas that will take the orders for you. That I can give you that number also here in Guyana. So stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. And don't forget the little ones you take into public places. Good night and Cheerios for now.